need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Amid all the FBI questions about Brett Kavanaugh, Democrats question his temperament. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Judge Kavanaugh harbors deep, deep partisan resentments. That's not the kind of justice we need on the Supreme Court.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says Kavanaugh misled senators, berated some at last week's hearing.
Democrats are willing to do anything and to hurt anyone to get their way.
President Trump at a rally last night in Johnson City, Tennessee, as the FBI continues to investigate Kavanaugh. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, so far, the FBI has talked to 4 people in its probe and allegations against Judge Kavanaugh. Democrat Richard Blumenthal put out a list of people he once interviewed.
We are demanding that 23 separate individuals be interviewed.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says Republicans will start voting on Kavanaugh this week.
The time for endless delay and obstruction has come to a close. 4
senators remain undecided, including Republicans Jeff Flake, Susan Collins, and Lisa Murkowski. Joe Manchin, a Democrat up for re-election in Red State, West Virginia, is also mulling the nomination over. Dave?
Rachel, 1 year ago, we were all waking up to a nightmare, that shooting spree in Las Vegas. Last night, they read all the names of the 58 people who were murdered, and the lights on the Vegas Strip were dimmed as hundreds of survivors formed a human chain around the site. Amazon is going to pay more workers more money. The online retail giant is going to raise its minimum wage to $15 an hour starting next month. For the second day in a row, an American wins the Nobel Prize.
American Arthur Ashkin sharing the Nobel Prize in Physics with scientists from France and Canada for advances in laser physics. Ashkin, who developed optical tweezers, which are basically light beams, which can grab tiny particles such as viruses without damaging them.
Fox's Lillian Wu. Ashkin's 96, the oldest Nobel Prize winner ever. Fox News. Fair and balanced.
To experience relief from muscle cramps in your legs and feet, use TheraWorks Relief. This non-greasy foam is proven to relieve muscle cramps fast and reduce muscle soreness. TheraWorks Relief can also prevent muscle cramps before they start, so you can get a full night's sleep without having to worry about muscle cramps. TheraWorks Relief only takes minutes to apply, absorbs quickly, and it works. TheraWorks Relief is a life-changing product, and you don't even need a prescription. Get TheraWorks Relief today in the pain relief aisle at Walmart, CVS, Rite Aid, and Walgreens pharmacies, or TheraWorksRelief.com.
There's nothing small about your business. Your passion, your hours, your reputation, it's all huge. Your partnerships, even bigger. With Dell Small Business Technology Advisors, you'll get the tech, advice, and one-on-one partnership to help your business grow. Because with reliable Dell PCs with Intel Core processors, you can focus on what matters most, getting business done. Call 877-BUY-DELL to speak with an advisor today. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
Governor Murphy is now asking lawmakers to work with him on a mix of new tax credits, many of them focused on high-wage, high-growth sectors of the economy he says can boost wage growth by 4% a year and add 300,000 jobs by 2025.
Recapturing the soul of innovation to recast our economy into one where fairness and strength go hand in hand was the driving principle of my candidacy.
Saying social progress and economic progress must be made together, Murphy called for state and private sector venture capital investments in startups. Many in the legislature wonder where the money is going to come from. In Neptune City, Mayor Robert Brown under fire after sharing a meme of Clint Eastwood proclaiming, "Every morning I wake up feeling so grateful I'm not a brainwashed, anti-American liberal." Well, you get the gist. Brown says he agreed with the post but didn't realize he shared it, saying, "I'm just not that good at Facebook." Hard Rock International replacing the president of its $500 million Atlantic City casino after just 3 months of operation. Joe Lupo, a former Borgata executive, succeeds Matt Harkness. I'm Eric Scott. This is the Town Square News Network.
It commutes with you every morning and evening, every drive down the shore, every after-school practice, every family road trip, every errand, and every exit on the turnpike of life. That's just how it rolls. Your car isn't just a car, and this isn't just insurance. It's NJM. We're here to help make every moment extraordinary and protect what's important. Get your quote now at njm.com.
The New Jersey Association of Public Health Nurse Administrators is the one voice of public health nurses in New Jersey with a message to help prevent flu in your community. Get your flu shot every year, wash your hands, and stay home if you are ill. Let's stay healthy, New Jersey. Visit njapHNA.org.
A partly to mostly cloudy day. It'll be warm, breezy, and pretty humid for your Tuesday with high temperatures in the lower 80s. In addition, we'll be watching the skies for a shower or thunderstorm possibly coming into view late this afternoon. More likely, it'll just be scattered showers tonight. That rainfall will exit the state by about midnight tonight, then skies clear out again. It'll still be muggy with lows in the mid to upper 60s, and it's back to sunshine tomorrow with high temperatures back in the lower 80s, more 80s on Thursday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame.
I want to congratulate my friend, Harry Hurley.
You're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
All right, Chuck turned down the radio on his portable cell phone. He turned down NPR, so we can begin the program now. Chuck Malamut is here. This is his regular weekly program, all about your financial matters. We're in our 27th year together. Chuck and I go back many more years than that. Chuck is the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. He is the managing director. He leads his team, the Malamut Group at Morgan Stanley's Northfield, New Jersey office. To reach Chuck and his group, 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. The following program is presented and sponsored by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck Malamut and do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. I slept 3 hours and 45 minutes last night so I could be here with you today, Chuck.
Good morning, Harry.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kirk. Good morning, all your listeners, Harry. I will share a little story with you. I know this is not a political hour, but I do have to make a couple quick comments. I was driving into North Jersey on Thursday, about 2 hours and 15 minutes each way, and had about a 2-hour meeting. So I caught both sides, and I can only tell you it's been, I don't know how many years it's been since I'm actually screaming at the radio.
Because you can't believe what you're hearing.
It was not, and again, it's craziness, and I guess the way we need to look at it is that the chips are going to fall where they're going to fall, right, wrong, or indifferent. But I know that you were a perfect child, other than stealing, nutrients from Don. But
yes.
In thinking back, in high school and in college years, and I certainly, Harry, and I think maybe 95% of your listeners will probably say they do not want to go back in time and have everything investigated that they went through. But
there should be a statute of limitations. I'm not talking about for murder, and neither are you. But this is terrible.
But think about, all the sexual harassment charges that have gone on, in the Senate that get buried
and get paid with our dollars.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, as they're going through these rants and these questions, that maybe you should 5 minutes is now up. So now, Kavanaugh, he can ask his questions to the person that initiated the questions on the other side.
For example, Cory Booker, who's stuff. But I think you're right about that. What I would love the American people to do would be a national movement to say that we demand, we the American people, get a couple 100 million signatures. Who would be against this unless you were absolutely corrupt? We want every settlement that has ever been made by a member of Congress for sexual harassment or any kind of inappropriate contact or language or favors for promotion or any avenue related to this to be publicly disclosed, the amount of money paid. They're responsible to pay that money back to the Treasury. Why in the world should the American people pay these exorbitant settlements for their behavior, Chuck.
Well, no.
Then they get to stand in judgment of you.
Right. So they should all get thrown out of office.
Yes, it should be
and lose their
disqualified.
jobs.
Correct.
But look, I think you and Kirk, and you said it absolutely perfectly last hour, is the economy that we are living through today. We haven't seen this. I think in our lifetime.
This could be could you make the case? I know there was the Industrial Revolution. There have been some amazing periods of growth, but could we make the case that, because in fairness, there's more Americans, so when you say that this is the most people that have ever been employed, highest work participation rate, but could we, and not be hysterical in saying it, could we make the case this is the greatest economy in American history?
If it's not the best, it's certainly one of the closest. Obviously the economy, a lot of things happened before our lifetime.
Because there was a time we had no debt, and we were very prosperous too. Now we have massive trillions of debt. What's it, 20-some trillion now?
It's actually 21 trillion.
Because we've added a trillion.
We did.
In the last 2 years. But I think you could make the case, and you could prove it, like a math equation, that this is the greatest economy in American history. And I just wish if we had a media that would really be bullish on America. I think consumer confidence, which is the highest it's been, I think, in 18 years and almost the highest ever, would be even higher.
Yes. So speaking of national debt, it did reach 21.5 trillion, an increase of $1 trillion from December of 2017. So, that's one of the things that obviously is a concern for all of us. But in spite of that, the fact of the matter is that there's, I'll go back to the old expression that we've been talking about for several months now. There is more jobs than people right now. So ultimately, as a result of that, it's pretty easy to get employed at this point in time. It might not be the job that your ultimate job, but as we often tell college grads, your first job's not your last job. But it's certainly, think about.
But there are also better jobs than we had recently.
Think about where we were a decade ago and graduating college. There was no jobs. So now you have multiple opportunities, in the economy that we're living through right now.
Chuck, let me throw a wild card at you because it's not on your list, because in fairness, it couldn't be on your list because you did your list in advance of the program, and this just came out. And Kirk shared it with me right before airtime, and that is that Amazon has approved
$15 an hour minimum wage. I heard that this morning.
So there you go. That's a big. When you think about the size and all the different centers they have, distribution centers.
I think there's probably I don't want to say that Amazon is being gracious. I'm thinking there's some back of the envelope things that were happening to kind of force them into going to that $15 across the board. But I could be dead wrong too.
You could be, but I think you're right. I'll go on a limb with you, and I also believe that with Jeff Bezos, this from an ideology standpoint, a political sort of operating philosophy of governance. This and a look at not that. He deserves, I will say he deserves to be the richest man in the world, the richest person in the world, because look what he's done. I mean, he's done something that is really extraordinary. But this sort of fits in with the socialist, liberal, Democrat philosophy of governance.
He does it in the Washington Post.
Yeah.
So kind of put it out for perspective. Let's get back to the markets here for a second.
But that's not a nothing burger, that $15.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not to be taken lightly, but we finished the quarter, one of the best quarters that we've had in several years. I think maybe 2013, if I remember correctly. But last week, stocks kind of drifted a little bit. They were lower after reaching all-time highs. S&P ended up dropping 0.5%. Treasury prices, the dollar did in fact advance. We'll talk about the Fed in a second. I think Kirk, as you mentioned earlier about oil prices, they ended up the week about 3%. Again, about the fears about a tightening supply against the sanctions that are now in place on exports from Iran. So, in spite of higher oil prices, in spite of the tariffs that are now in place, and in China, obviously we can talk about, and you guys talked about a little bit about Mexico and Canada, the consumer's getting squeezed a little bit, with these higher prices. So the question is, higher oil prices, higher cost, to import.
Do me a favor. Go back to when you said the higher oil prices, because the last hour also Kirk confirmed, and we knew we were on the precipice of this, that just recently we are the largest oil producer in the world. So I know you and I have had this conversation back and forth about there's a difference between producing the most oil and having the refinery capacity to be able to do what needs to be done, and that there is a sense in selling it, and then we don't have to worry about that. But if we're the largest oil producer in the world, I think we need to go to oil 2.0 and do something here at home that we don't have to worry about these high prices.
Well, we do, but again, remember we talked about the cost to move the product.
Right.
It's a lot less expensive for us to sell, oil coming from Alaska, to the other parts of the world versus bringing it, down, through the pipeline to ultimately, refine, here in the States. But, the one thing about life changes.
Yeah.
And don't be at all surprised if
we change the model, it's only that way because that's the way it is. If we actually wanted energy independence and not just the mantle, the title of we produce the most, we could change the game.
If we actually made that decision that we were going to become energy independent, I think that can be done. I mean, let's kind of put it in perspective here. So the price of West Texas as of Friday was $73.19, up again yesterday. Where we were in December of this past year, $60.46, and where we were a year ago, $51.57. Now, the price at the pump went from, it's currently, nationally speaking, about $2.84
right.
for a gallon of unleaded versus $2.58, a year ago. So you think about...
But that's why I like to strike all that built-in acceptance to, the Brent crude and this is that, and this is how much it is a barrel and all that, to we are energy independent. We tell the American people, I'll tell you, if I was running for president, I would tell the American people a big part of my platform is, because I listen to the Malamut doctrine of every penny is a billion, what?
Billion two, yeah.
Okay? Of discretionary spending that we would have. I would run for president saying we are the largest oil producer in the world now. Thank you very much. We're going to improve our refinery capacity so that we can be energy independent. And I am promising the American people that gas price at the pump will be cut in half.
The point that I think I was trying to make.
Look what that would do
for
America.
That would be nothing short of spectacular. But the fact.
What would that mean for the economy, Chuck?
Well, let's put it in perspective here. Let's take a look where we are with the economy today with rising oil prices. Imagine what the economy would look like if the consumer was not getting squeezed with these higher oil prices.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying. Let me do my quick math. The $1.2 billion, every penny is $1.2 billion of new money that the American people would have at their disposal, discretionary spending to spend. If we cut the price $150 or $1.50 a gallon, 100 pennies in a dollar, $1.50 a gallon, you're talking about, this would be incredible what this would mean.
I think what your listeners need to realize is the fact that in spite of everything that they hear or they watch or they see, is the fact that the economy that we are living through today is something that we haven't seen in our lifetime.
Right.
And
look at the jobs that would be created.
And this was something I'm gonna skip around here just a little bit.
Hold your thought. We have to get the first break in. We'll be right back. Chuck's on a roll, and he's barely gotten out of his market update. Not even out of his market update. The Fed will be the first item after the market update. I just would love to see us do that, guys. I think we can do it. It would change everything. If you thought about the last time you filled your tank of gas. Most people can't even fill the tank of gas. Oh, my God, put $10 in, put $20 in, because it's $70, $80 to fill the tank. It's unbelievable what a game changer that would be in our country. This portion of Early in the Morning also brought to us by America's oldest seaside resort, Congress Hall, back in 2016, celebrating its bicentennial, making 200 years as America's first seaside resort. They were voted recently as the best hotel in New Jersey by Travel and Leisure and its readers. Now in their third century, Congress Hall features the simple pleasures, and what they've done, they have made it so that you still feel that you are going back to the 1800s, but yet all the modern conveniences are so well done at the same time. 62-acre Beach Plum Farm is awesome. That's where you will have literally just 2 miles away, farm to table. Doesn't get fresher, spectacular ingredients. They've got it all. It's fantastic. They produce fresh produce. They have live chickens and piglets. I mean, it is as fresh as it gets, and it is a property with 108 guest rooms, including the newly renovated Junior Suites, each named after either a U.S. president or a high-ranking dignitary who spent summers here at Congress Hall. To reserve, one of two ways to do it. If Malamut were running the hotel, he would tell you. You can go to the website. The entire reservation system is at congresshall.com. So that's a simple way to do it. If you prefer to speak to a person, you can call a reservation agent, 888-944-1816. One last favor, tell them Hurley in the Morning sent you to Congress Hall, right on the beach. Unobstructed view forever. It's in the deed to the beach and the Atlantic Ocean at 200 Congress Place. All right, back with Chuck. He's on a roll next.
Harry Hurley, WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Alabama, live in concert. Saturday, January 19th, Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City. Alabama, 50th Anniversary Tour, celebrating 50 years of your favorite songs from the greatest country band of all time. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
You gotta have a fiddle in the band. That lead guitar is hot.
On the next Markley and Van Camp,
is Kanye West going to save America?
I can cut to the chase. No.
And it's National Pizza Month. Producer Craig will tell you why everything you think you know about pizza is wrong.
We should probably remind him it's also International Day of Nonviolence.
Markley and Van Camp, this afternoon at 1. Now, Harry Hurley on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
Kirk's playing a little Economics 101 with us during the break, and it was a short break. All very interesting statistics about the gross domestic product, GDP. Chuck, back to you.
So, Harry, why don't we I think we kind of talked a little bit about the markets, the fact that, we're not going to talk about any one individual company, but earnings started today. Pepsi reported they're the first. They in fact, beat on the top and the bottom line. So hopefully that's an indication of where we were in the third quarter. But, one company certainly does not make a market, but we're off to a pretty good start.
I saw the latest Atlanta Fed numbers. Are we expecting a third quarter that will be beyond 4%?
I've seen that. Yeah. I've seen 4.3.
Yeah.
So
I've seen no worse than 4.1. I've seen as high as 4.3. What was last quarter?
It was 4.1, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So let's talk a little about the Fed. I mean, as anticipated, the hike was expected, but I think that the concern that everyone had is the fact that the removal of the word accommodative from the statement, drew greater attention from investors than the actual fact of the matter is
that was a shame.
They moved
that
25 basis points. So. Now, Chairman Powell did note that the change in language doesn't impact the likely path of policy. So when you kind of put it on perspective, they did in fact move 25 basis points. The expectation, and they're in the range right now, 2 to 2.25. That's the target range. It's the 8th hike we've seen since this cycling of tightening began back in December 2015.
Do you recall how many rate increases there have been since January of 2017?
17. I'm
at least
3 to 5. I'm guessing.
I'm not. Say at least 3.
I'm kind of
taking a stab at that. I point that out. It just seems very interesting, the rapid rate of increasing that.
Well, but think about it again. It all goes back to where we were, just a few minutes ago. It's
the economy.
They're looking at data. I mean, and the data points. The Fed. The Fed oftentimes gets it wrong to the point where they kind of strangle the economy.
They overcorrect.
And the fact that they put in too many hikes, does that in fact hurt the economy? But the anticipation is one more hike this year.
Do you think they're going
and
too
3
fast
hikes in
or
2019?
just about right?
I think it's about right. I mean, the market, Harry, is going to tell you if they're moving in the wrong direction. And the fact of the matter is that...
And some of them that are forward-thinking 6 months will be talking about it before most people would be thinking about it.
Exactly.
So I'm okay so far. I don't know that it's on your list. Your list is an impressive one, but I'd like to get a comment from you. I know the markets loved it. The new United States, Mexico, and Canada trade deal, known as the USMCA, formerly NAFTA.
Yeah, it was obviously waking up yesterday morning, understanding that a deal was in place, and with Canada, I mean the market. At one point in time, the Dow, and again, we don't like to use that as an indicator, but everybody watches it. It was up 250.
And I do see it was your very next item, trade negotiations.
Yeah. So when you look at, I think what's happening here is that the deal with Canada is done. Obviously, the deal with Mexico is done. The trade issues between the United States and most of the world. I'm going to say most of the world generally seem to be positive, but the canary in the coal mine here is that the U.S.-China relationship, it seems, at least on the surface, to be working in the wrong direction. I mean, it's deteriorating more. But, you think about the way the president negotiates, this could be going in the right direction, I think, for us.
It can look bad early and still be the right move because let's face it. Let's say MCA. There was a time where it was very hostile between America and Mexico. They were very upset about, Mexico's going to pay for the wall and all that. And obviously Canada relations as recently as last week, the president was trashing the prime minister and their 300% dairy tariffs and all of that. And Canada, I said it to our audience, Chuck, Canada had to come on board. They had to. There was no way.
If you look at the fact that Canada, the largest nation that Canada exports to is the U.S., so it had to work. But, I think obviously the market gave up a little bit at the end of the day, but it still was obviously positive. We're not going to look on a day-to-day basis, but certainly, Q3 was a great quarter for the markets, and all the major indices are up fairly significantly year to date.
Chuck, how about right after the break? You did mention inflation, but I think we can meld this into two questions of sort of a additional little point of emphasis on inflation, which Chuck writes to me is well contained for now, but what will happen? And can rising interest rates hurt equities? That I am very anxious to hear Chuck's comment. Chuck Malamut, for most of the hour, whatever time we have left, we'll begin open forum. We're going to have an incredible 9 o'clock hour. I'm going to share, I can't share the entire statement, but I'm going to share much of the Rachel Mitchell statement because it's really the first non-political, dispassionate review of an issue that is gripping the nation right now. We'll get to that in a little bit. With Chuck Malamut, respectfully yours, I am.
Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 104.1 and on the WPG Talk Radio app.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Atlanticare, a member of Geisinger.
So you want to lose weight, so you jump on the treadmill for 45 minutes every day, but research is showing that weight training may actually be a better choice. With cardio training, you might burn additional calories per minute, but after a weight training workout, metabolism can be boosted for up to 38 hours. And here's even better news. Resistance training can help you build lean muscle mass, which acts as a calorie-burning furnace. The more lean muscle, the more calories your body burns. It basically helps rev up your metabolism. Plus, weight training can help define your muscles and actually change the shape of your body. Cardio is still good to help condition your heart and lungs, but when it comes to losing weight, make weight training part of your overall exercise program. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, brought to you by Atlanticare, a member of Geisinger. Call 1-888-569-1000 or visit Atlanticare.org.
This is Harry Hurley for All Season Solar, our official and exclusive solar energy provider to the Hurley in the Morning program. They design and they install the most attractive, efficient, state-of-the-art solar photovoltaic systems from the world's leading manufacturers. What I love about dealing with All Season Solar, they're your single point of contact. They do the system design, engineering, your building permits, installation, and the ultimate glorious utility connection day. They take care of everything under the sun so that you can sit back and reap the savings. Call Frank Neal today, 609-317-5491. That's Frank Neal, All Season Solar, 609-317-5491. There's never been a better time to go solar. The benefits are there. New Jersey leads the East Coast and second largest in the entire United States in terms of solar energy panel installation. No deposits, no hidden fees, no out-of-pocket costs. All Season Solar. Tell them Hurley in the Morning sent you.
Hey, it's Sean Hannity. Don't forget, join me weekdays 3 to 6 as you head home, only on WPG Talk Radio 104.1.
We're back. It's 31 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut is here, the official, the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. For all of your financial planning needs, turn to the man that has mastered, perfected the concept of total asset management, coupled with the all-important asset allocation, somebody that I believe is the best in the business. 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010, the number to reach Chuck and his team. All right, so I've melded these into one question, and you did touch briefly on inflation.
Yeah, so we did chat about inflation. You know, you think about, for the most part, in spite of these rising oil prices and wages that keep moving higher now, inflation seems to be pretty well contained. Good. But you know, if we continue on this track, that's not going to last forever. So,
I agree.
You know, business owners, you know, have to raise prices to compensate for wage hikes. And again, the increases in pricing as we get through the developing tariff war. Inflation is well contained right now, but is in fact moving higher. So if inflation continues to rise in 2019, you know, the Fed could be forced to take some additional action. So, you know, the Fed did raise its GDP growth prospects for 2018 to 3.1%. Now, the other question we talked about, you know, if we do in fact have higher inflation, have higher interest rates, can it in fact slow the pace of equities? We don't think the stock market is really going to slow until rates are really, you know, to the point where the 10-year Treasury, you know, trades to, you know, that 3 3/4 to 4 1/4%. At that point in time, there might be some caution and reasons to be somewhat concerned. And think about, we've had numerous discussions about the 10-year going through 3%. I think last week it broached like 3.1, and right now it's about 3.06. So we have quite a ways to go from 3.06 to 3 3/4. So
this might be a part of your next question, what you just said in that statement, but I'm going to put it out there as a standalone anyhow. And I'll pull out one of what I call the Malamut doctrines, where for years you've taught me about Goldilocks, of not too hot, not too cold, just right. Do we have an atmosphere right now where there are reasons for both optimism and caution?
We do. So we talked about U.S. economy. You know, the reasons that we should be optimistic, Harry. Corporate fundamentals are still very, very healthy. Valuations aren't too terribly high. You know, trade tensions really haven't detracted from the economic growth. You know, despite all the headwinds and higher interest rates, our economy seems to be moving in the right track. You know, the net supply of stocks, as we know, continues to shrink as, you know, as companies, you know, continue with their buybacks because they have all this cash on their balance sheets. You know, we haven't really talked about lower tax rates, but they're out there, and that should insulate the market from any potential fallout. Again, assuming you know, who knows where we go with the November elections, and you know, all these changes, dramatic political changes, may not occur, you know, in the November election. It's anybody's guess. I think it's kind of a toss-up where we go here.
I think it's really unknown, and obviously you have all these wild card things. I remember vividly the run-up to 2016. All the smart guys, all the analysts, everybody not only predicted Hillary would be the president, but wanted her to be the president for some. And you know, I fought that because I knew what Trump would do, and I knew what Hillary would do. So I couldn't understand what smart money, smart people would ever keep saying, "Oh, it's better for us if Hillary were to win." So they went that way with that one, and of course Trump winning made anybody who said the opposite, I think, look ridiculous now. But in terms of what's going on right now, are the smart people all over again? Have they taken a position? Do they want split government in one or both houses? Do they want no change? Where are they now?
I think it's leaning to split government.
Which, once again, I maybe because this is my lane, Chuck. We're talking about the splendor of all this, that would immediately put the brakes.
Harry, I do not disagree with you.
There's got to be something that I don't know, Chuck, because I don't get it. All right, let's get off of that.
So we talked about why optimism. So let's talk about a little bit about what we should be, a little bit cautious about.
Yeah.
Growth outside the U.S. is mixed, as evidenced in Europe and in the Far East. The relationship, and I think I'm going to use that word very, very loosely, between the U.S. and China, continues to move in the wrong direction. Companies here in this country are obviously concerned about the effects of these trade tariffs. Cost pressures, are going to mount somewhat. Rising interest rates, inflation, that could be somewhat of a weigh on valuations. Central banks are starting to tighten interest rates, globally speaking, and again, the geopolitical concerns, continue to exist outside the U.S. Italy, Germany, Brexit, and obviously, the U.S. midterm election. So, that's sort of the good, the bad, and the indifferent. But putting it all aside, it certainly benefited investors to be in the U.S. Equity markets this year, 2018.
Chuck Malamut, please speak to the U.S. consumer confidence level.
Well, I think you and Kirk kind of talked about this.
We did.
In the last hour. I mean, we are right now hitting an 18-year high. Really not much more to say than that. The fact that I don't think it's going to get a whole lot better than where we are right now.
Let me introduce this next question because it brings me great joy. Because my late great brother Bill Malamut and I became together credit score senseis, credit score ninjas. We learned every little finite thing that composes these, what used to be very mystical, but now there's sort of, the layers are peeling back, and you can understand debt to equity ratio and the all these different factors that enter in credit inquiries and all the little things that matter a little bit and a whole lot in terms of the credit score. And the U.S., this is a piggyback off of the great U.S. consumer confidence, because U.S. consumer credit worthiness is at an all-time high, first time ever. The average credit score in America is 704, which is a good credit score, which means that people can pay their bills on time, Chuck.
Yeah, so the scale is 350 to 850. Mm-hmm. 704 is the record number that you just referred to a minute ago. On a comparative basis, when you go back to where we were in the global financial crisis, that score declined to 686. Now, you might say, well, geez, Harry, Chuck, that's not a big move, 704 to 686. But you think about the number of people that it impacted, and you have referred to it, the ninja loans. I mean, I think all of us have lost sight as to where we were a decade ago. And I think sometimes we really need to take a step back and revisit that to make absolutely certain that we don't have that same situation. We will have recessions. There's no doubt about it. The next one is just on the horizon. We just don't know when and where and to what magnitude. But
isn't it a matter of trying to manage it so they're not deep?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
make a dip out of it instead of something deep and painful.
Exactly. And I think, Harry, that kind of gets me to the next point, which is that, we've been on an incredible run in this long-standing bull market.
How do you respond to those? And I think it's specious, but they call it a sugar high.
Is crap,
isn't it?
So here's the answer. Here's what's happened. So the current bull market right now is more than 9.5 years old. The S&P has gained 400.
Does that make it one of the longest?
It is the longest.
Yeah.
The S&P has gained 430%. That's total return, including dividend.
Wow.
Since this began in March of 2009. But during that time, Harry, we've had 11 separate sell-offs of at least 5%. But less than 20%. The most recent drop of 5% or more was a 10% loss that we incurred over 13 calendar days that ended just this past February. So, we've had these bumps in the road where, and this is, we've always talked about this, the Rodney Dangerfield market rally. This market has gotten absolutely no respect, and you've talked about.
I know why.
You've talked about this. I mean, I don't know how many times, and the fact that if you asked most Americans today, and I almost fell out of my chair when I read this. 2,000 American adults were surveyed this past August. Okay, 48% came back and they said that they thought the U.S. stock market had been flat over the last 10 years. Another 18% of those 2,000 surveyed thought the market had declined over the last 10 years. So think about it. You have
68%.
You have 66%
that either think it didn't gain anything
or
that
it went the wrong way.
Oh,
I mean, that's just insanity.
That's scary. That's
So,
scary. So that means that the vast majority of the American people are not paying attention to the stock market, is what that means.
They don't pay attention. I mean, those that have
possibly,
those that have
longest bull market run in American history, that should have been 80-some% of the American people know that it's been good.
Well, look, if you have a 401k and you're vested effectively in equities, then you're part of that that 34% that realize the market has moved in the right direction.
Let me ask you. I know we're going to talk about it. You're going to talk about it. The history of bank failures.
Yeah. So what has happened here, Harry? The fact of the matter is that we've had. It seemed as if virtually every day from 2004 through 2007, it was a period of over 2.5 years. No bank failed in that point in time. So, but as you got through that, between 2007 and 2017, almost 11 years, 531 banks failed and required a bailout. So that's about 50 banks per year, or almost one per week. Now the good news is, it's been almost 2 years, Harry, since we've had a bank failure. So I mean
that's also a record, right?
That is a record. So the fact of the matter is, a lot of people took a lot of grief for putting in a lot of the regulations, but at the end of the day, I think consumers, bank depositors can feel pretty comfortable that their assets, are safe and they're secure. But, you're always going to have an obscure bank. And I think one of the things you got to be concerned about is if, let's say the going rate is 2%, for a good quality, money market fund, and a bank is out there advertising 3.5%, 4%. I think at that point in time, you as the consumer, you want to make certain, well, why are you being so aggressive to want to create additional capital or capital inflows into your institution? So if you're away from the market, it's great to get a higher rate, but I would always be somewhat cautious. I don't want to use the word suspicious because, you are in fact insured up to the federal guidelines, but I would certainly, think about that.
That was a great narrative. This is something, Chuck, and we go back a long time.
I thought about this when I was looking at this. When one of the things that we always talked about, and it was how many years ago we were together, Harry?
Close to 40.
When you were just a young child.
Yeah, basically
okay.
40 years, 38, 40 years. I think you appreciated it because you were a senior executive, top 10 in the company. I was a director. I appreciated it at the department head level. But we really, I think, I'm not going to put we, but most people never really appreciated the employee benefits, and they were fantastic benefits. I don't think any copay, no copay for a prescription. And if it was nothing, dollar or less. Go to the doctor's visit, no copay. Anything, dentist, everything was covered. Dental benefit was always poor, but it was in keeping with what the benefit had always provided. That's actually one that, depending on your benefits plan, has actually gotten a little bit better today than it was when we were in the business. But I don't think people realize, you and I do, because we did budgets and we saw what we called fringe benefits. And in my day, Chuck, fringe benefits were about an additional 1/3.
Yeah, it was 25 to 33%, and what has happened, obviously, with the rising cost of healthcare today, an employer is forced to pay an additional 44 cents, or 44%, we'll call it, with respect to benefits. So the average compensation, is sort of measured throughout the country, is about almost $24 an hour. But the cost of benefits is about $10.50. So I think a lot of people kind of lose sight of how tough it is for businesses to make it. And the fact is, when we did this together many years ago, 25, 30, 33%, 33, yeah, that was kind of stretching it, and now you're close to 50%, and it's just, unfortunately, I think it's just going to go higher, not lower.
But it's unsustainable.
What is unsustainable? I mean, and I think that's one of the things that we talked about optimism, we talked about being cautious. I think that's one of the underlying thoughts is the fact that
the solutions are painful, Chuck, because if you think about it, we'll just look at it very macro. If it's too much, if the deal is too rich and you can't do it, in order to bring it down, you would have to reduce benefits. So you'd have to increase copays, increase prescription care, increase things that are covered, increase the deductibles, which are already so devastating to so many people that have 5 and 10 and 12 and even beyond that, thousands of dollars before their benefits even kick in.
Right, exactly.
It's
so
tough.
it is tough, and not to be a Debbie Downer here, but one of the last topics that we talked about, and I'd like to talk about, Harry, is we've had numerous discussions about real estate, and the good news is that real estate here in our part of the county seems to be in a lot better footing than we were just 12 to 18 months ago.
We were late to the party.
Yeah, we were. But remember, early on, Nevada, Florida, Texas. I mean, the way those laws are written versus New Jersey, they were able to clear through their inventory a lot faster.
And it doesn't also stand to reason. It's not a perfect formula, but the deepest. For example, that's why the past, what I call lost decade, was so unusual and had never happened in American history. The deeper the decline, the more robust the recovery.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Las Vegas today. It's nothing short of spectacular what's happened out there. But here's what is a little discouraging. So, San Diego, which is a pretty vibrant area, Harry. 20% of single-family homes dropped their asking price in June of this past year. That was the highest drop of any major U.S. city. 14% of single-family homes nationwide, lowered their asking price in June of 2018 as well. And you're seeing New York City as an example. Harry starting to take it on the chin here a little bit. So I think that's something that we need to think about. We have rising costs, and now all of a sudden, real estate valuations are not quite where we would like them to be. Now, there are certain San Francisco, as an example, that part of the country. I mean, a house goes up for sale, you have a bidding war. Multiple offers above the asking price. You have to come immediately with a pre-qualification letter and be ready to close 30 days out, and oftentimes, if you need to get financing, you're going to lose that deal because there'll be a cash buyer.
It's the truth. People that are selling their home and signing onto a deal with a contingency, they're not even in the game, Chuck.
It's interesting.
You got to sell your home.
Yeah,
maybe rent.
As we're talking about this, I see a sort of a blurb come across my phone. Manhattan real estate is now in a year-long correction. So that's something that I think that's one of the wild cards we need to think about. As good as things get, you always are, looking around the corner for, something or a number of events that could derail the market. So
all right, let me end the Malamut program, but ask you if you'll stay for 1 minute. The Chuck Malamut program for all of your financial planning needs. Turn to the exclusive financial consultant, financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, Chuck Malamut, and the Malamut Group, Morgan Stanley, Northfield, New Jersey, 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs. And really think about that, and think about it at the right time. If you're a young family, we were on a plane, beautiful little babies, and you think about, man, if they call Chuck and they start a college builder right now, you won't have those Parent Plus loans that are choking the life out of parents, and student loans, ditto. Plan now when it is so manageable with Chuck. And that can be for all the mile markers. Chuck's going to ask you, how long you want to work? When would you like to be able to retire? Because here's what you're going to need to do in order to be able to do that. Tell Chuck I sent you if I've inspired you to call, 609-383-2010. All right, the Malamut program is over, and I want to ask you one follow-up. And I'm actually, you saw me writing, but I was still paying full attention to Chuck at the same time. I can multitask. This is you know who this is. This is a former casino owner. This is a former casino president, a very dear friend of mine. And we've been having a conversation for the last 10 minutes during your show. And we didn't talk about this, but I'm asking you this. What do you think the off-season holds in store for Atlantic City now that Atlantic City has added 2 properties, 2 full-fledged hotel casinos, and now we're going to be in the shoulder months and the off-season? What's your gut tell you?
Harry,
and you know why I ask you this?
Yeah, that's such a wild card. It's I'm going to be cautiously optimistic this year because of where we are in the economy and the fact that Atlantic City, has quote, worked on cleaning up its act. I think the shoulder seasons are going to be good compared to where we were, last year. I think the winter, and again, I think a lot of that is going to be obviously weather related. We could struggle a little bit, but I think you have a lot of smart people, a lot of right now, and the fact is that you have those 2 new facilities that have been added to inventory, and but I'm being optimistic, Harry, that we're going to and here's what it gets down to: if we have a good shoulder season and a decent winter,
that's really going to speak to something.
Then as we get into next summer, and if the economy is still tracking where it is now, I think the summer of 2019 will be nothing short of spectacular for Atlantic City.
I agree. Let me tell you what I think about this. Everything you said, I'm buying. I'm signing on to it. I know you're right. And the reason I asked you this question, for those, if there's one person that doesn't realize Chuck's pedigree, his degree from the Cornell Hotel School of Management, and his service at multiple properties as the senior hotel executive, and I am Chuck's protege. Proud to say that I started out entry level under Chuck and worked my way up to the top hotel position. If I'm in the business today, Chuck, I'm embracing, like what Resorts is doing right now, increasing your meeting space, focusing right now, everything working close with Meet AC and working really close with your front office and your tour and travel and bringing in groups and making it happen when it otherwise wouldn't be there. And I absolutely believe that we can have a good shoulder season because we have a year-round destination resort product with entertainment, with great accommodations, the best food and beverage experience that you could have in America, Capriccio, the best casino restaurant in America, the USA Today winner of that. And so, Chuck, if you were running the Golden Nugget and I was running Trump Castle, we'd be kicking butt with a high occupancy rate by bringing in tour and travel, conventions, and business that otherwise we wouldn't be doing in the summer months.
Absolutely. I mean, and
you've done it, and I've done it.
The world has changed, but a lot of it does in fact remain the same. And I find it very interesting that no matter where you go, because we service a number of casinos and running their 401k plans with the plan sponsors, is that still sort of operate, under the same strategy. You have to obviously develop your customer base. It's to me, I always think about the single operator, how they might struggle a little bit as far as the competition is concerned. But if they can create a niche, then they should be fine. But the fact of the matter is, without when we were in the business years ago, Harry, think about it was all gaming, and non-gaming really wasn't of an interest.
It's true.
And our prior,
we try to get people excited about raising non-revenue.
Our chairman, really didn't want any non-gaming revenue, and then moved to Vegas and changed his tune.
Because Vegas is more non-gaming business than casino business.
Absolutely correct. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I look. I learned from you, so it's an easy conversation for me to have with you, and we both did it, and we both did it well at 4-diamond, 4-star hotels. And I think this off-season has the potential. Certainly, if there is an underperformer, it will be exposed. But the only thing I would even like. A tiny little pushback. You said the boutique operator, and I'm saying Steve Wynn before Me Too and all his demise. But if Steve Wynn opened up one boutique casino in Atlantic City, yes or no, would it be successful?
I think it would be successful.
Darn right it would be.
But then you have a vibrant CEO with a history of being in the gaming market
and being successful.
I think the problem that most individual operators, single facility operators, have is the fact that they just don't have that big customer list, and what they have to be able to do is,
like we had at the Golden Nugget.
Yeah, they have to team with another operator, to ultimately be successful. But it was just. I'm not announcing anything that your listeners don't know, but there was a change. There is a change ongoing at Hard Rock.
Yeah, I actually knew that for several weeks, and I didn't.
I'm not.
Break the story.
It would be unfair for me to even speculate why. I'm not going to go there, but that is look. Think about it. It happens a lot,
ladies and gentlemen. He knows why. Go ahead.
It happens a lot. Like you think about when
it happens
a facility,
a lot, but not usually that quick.
Well, no, a facility opens, and they have to kind of get through all the rough spots, and oftentimes changes happen. It's life, Harry.
Many times the first one does get the quick hook, and then you settle down after that. Hey, look, I think it's fair to say, wasn't there a fast hook at Golden Nugget?
There was.
Okay. So you're right about that.
And you think about it, we were the beneficiaries of those fast hooks.
We, to quote a former president, we were the people they were waiting for.
I never thought of it that way, Harry, but that's actually well said.
Shannon Bybee, former president, came and plucked Chuck Malamut, and we had significant operations issues. And I'm also not going to get into anything because I think Matt Harkness is. I knew this weeks ago. I have witnesses, even casino presidents, that I privately trust that I told. And then of course it's breaking news yesterday, and I'm 1,000 miles away, and I don't want to say I was with someone that said, "Harry, you told me that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago." I said, "Yeah, I know." I said, "But there's some stories I don't want to break. I didn't want to break that story." I was sad about it because obviously he was a successful Trump president, CEO, and just sometimes, Chuck, as you say, it just doesn't work out for the one that's opening a new property.
Yeah, it's somebody's going to take the fall at the end of the day, and I think
it's not going to be 1,000 people, so or 3,000 people, 4,000 people, so sometimes it's one.
And I think oftentimes, Harry, it's a matter of you can't control your revenue, you can control your expenses to a certain degree, and I guess this is. I'm not saying anything that is not out there. I think the fact that their casino win might be a little bit short of what they were expecting.
I think so.
Happen.
I think also some operational things. And again, it just is what it is. I will say this: Joe Lupo, the new president, well known, well respected, great operator, very successful. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chuck. His pedigree is hotel operations.
Yeah, he came from Borgata down to Tampa, and now coming back to Atlantic City.
And he knows Atlantic City, and I know how well that property can do, and you know that property. And now
property very well.
And now the physical improvements to the plant. I think Lupo has a really good chance to do great things there.
Harry, I hear the music getting played off. Thanks for a great hour. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Chuck. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, give me the floor for the first segment. I can't read the whole thing to you. I swear, I promise, I want to read the entire Rachel Mitchell report. Nobody asked her to do it. She's not in the tank for anyone. She did such a deconstruction of this whole issue of Kavanaugh v. Ford, Ford v. Kavanaugh, whatever you want to call it. And her work is utterly brilliant. Not just because I like it, it is.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ 97.3 HD3 Millville. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Democrats want 24 people interviewed in the FBI's Brett Kavanaugh investigation. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
The FBI should be able to interview anyone appropriate.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, will that include Julie Swetnick? She's the Supreme Court nominee's third accuser who told MSNBC she remembers Kavanaugh from parties.
I saw him go up to girls and paw on them, try to